Shri Tripura Rahasyam Māhātmya-Khaṇḍam Aum Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste. So in the last few videos of the second chapter of the Māhātmya-Khaṇḍa, we've been talking about Narada Muni's response to Sumeda's question. And now his name is Haritayana. Not only that, Narada is speaking from a very high platform, the highest platform actually, known as Ajata-vāda. And from the viewpoint of Ajata-vāda, well, Ajata means unborn. So from his point of view, the world is unborn. It doesn't really exist as a created thing. Rather, it's simply an appearance in consciousness. Well, let me get to the next part of his answer, or his response actually, because he responds with a question. If you have seen externally, then listen to my words. Who saw whose exterior, and how, and why? Because the senses are part of the body, they are inert. Then tell me how they can see external things. This is the question. This is the question that started me on the path leading to my present situation. As a Shakta and an Advaitin, following in the tradition of Shankaracharya. I was a dualistic Krishna devotee in Dvaita-vāda. But one day I was sitting on a park bench in Mexico City, and I started wondering, actually, how is it possible for consciousness, which is completely transcendental and spiritual, to even be aware of the material world? You know, this is crazy. How is it possible? Their qualities are completely different. And of course, in those days, you see, I was using the dualistic conception of the soul, the eternal, spiritual, conscious, transcendental being. That is who we really are. And the material world is a creation. It's a real thing. It has real existence. But from that platform, you cannot answer this question. That's the thing. This is the point that Narada is trying to drive home with these questions. You know, if you accept the convenient assumptions that we make about the nature of existence, which are collectively known as ontology, what is, what can be, what is real, and so on. If you accept those convenient assumptions, then okay, when two people meet, one is seeing the other one, and they see each other externally. But wait a minute. If we actually look into those assumptions, they fall apart pretty quickly. And they start to lead to intricate and convoluted theories until one comes to the platform of Advaita. Because to understand the existence of the material world in a dualistic way, it leads nowhere, only to confusion. Look at the scientists. The scientists have all these theories about stuff going on in galaxies millions or billions of light years away. But they can't even explain their own consciousness. This is the greatest joke in the world. They call it the hard problem. Well, it's only hard if your assumptions about reality preclude any answer. If you change your assumptions and look at things in a different way, then it's easy. What is that different way? Well, instead of believing in a story about the existence of the world, look at your own experience. Look at your own consciousness. What is our actual experience every day? The world disappears every night when we go to sleep. As soon as our consciousness changes into another mode, poof, it's gone. And there's another world, the dream world. And then poof, that's gone. There's no world at all. So what is real? Only one thing remains throughout all those changes, and that is consciousness itself. Pure awareness, without any object. Because the objects come and go. So the only thing that has real existence in our own experience is our own consciousness. Everything else is temporary, which means it's not real. Or it's relatively real. But from the point of view of ajatta, it's not real at all. Let's use the example again of going to a movie theater. And let's say we're looking at a movie about a train. And the train is going down the track, clickety-click, clickety-clack. And we see all these images. We see a picture of a train moving down the tracks. But is there really a train? No. Are there really tracks and landscapes and engineers and passengers and all the other people around? No. No. It's just a screen, and there's a projector throwing an image on it. And when the movie is finished, it disappears and it's gone. Isn't that similar to our actual experience of so-called reality? Whether in waking consciousness or dream consciousness, we see all these images, but then they disappear and they cannot be found. When you're in dream world, you cannot find this so-called real world. And the reverse is also true. When you're awake in Jagrat consciousness, you can't find the dream world. Where is it? Huh? Some people will say, well, it's in my head. Uh-oh, here we go. This whole question of internal and external, within and without, from the point of view of consciousness, is completely ridiculous. Because consciousness, whether you're aware of something so-called within or so-called without, consciousness is the same. Consciousness is like a mirror. Whatever you put in front of the mirror reflects. It doesn't discriminate between internal, external, dreams, waking consciousness, or whatever. It simply shows you what's there. So, you see, this whole idea of internal and external is simply a concept. As Buddha would call it, a conceit. And if you look up the word conceit, the definition that applies is something artificially created and overlaid on what is. It's like an attitude or a concept that's projected onto the reality. It's not the reality itself. It's only a way of looking at things and classifying it in different names and forms. So we have all these ideas about internal and external. But if we start to examine them closely, the whole thing falls apart. Because where do you draw the line? What is internal and what is external? For example, if someone externally gives you the news, your son is dead, boom, it affects you internally. Wait a minute. Those words are outside, and the feeling about it is inside. Or the reverse, that if we're in a certain mood, a certain state of consciousness, things will seem one way. And if we're in a different state of consciousness, they'll seem a different way. I love to tell this story about when I was a pujari at a temple, and an Indian couple came. And they were watching the offering. I was doing the offering and the prayers and everything. And the woman was like, oh God, oh, this is beautiful. She was having an experience of bhakti. And the man was like, oh, let's see, I have a meeting. When is this going to be over? Let's get out of here. Come on. Two people, very close, married couple, yet they're having two completely different experiences. Why? Because of their conceits, their attitudes, which they are projecting on the experience. They're standing right next to each other, but they're in two different worlds. So this is, of course, the same with everybody. When you're in a good mood and you walk down the street, everybody's like, hi, right? And when you're in a bad mood or you're depressed or whatever, then nobody wants to talk to you. Have you noticed? Isn't it because of the energy that you're projecting? So why project anything? Because the whole thing is just a movie anyway. Why not just, lean back and get out the popcorn, and watch? Just be the watcher. Just be the witness. The seer. And ultimately, the beer. You're just there. You exist. And all this other stuff apparently comes and goes. Apparently is the key word here. It's an apparency, it's an appearance. It's not reality. So, when Narada says, who saw whose exterior? Did you see mine? Did I see yours? Where's the difference? Where's the line between you and me? And then he says, and how and why? How does this consciousness see the exterior of objects when consciousness is the most internal thing there is? How is it possible? And why? Why do we see like this? Well, the easy answer is because we're in illusion, we're in Maya. And so we see so many apparently existing real objects, and they have an inside and an outside, and I am different from you, and you are different from me. But where is the line? Where is the actual border? You could say at my skin. My skin determines what's inside and outside. But then why do the things that people say outside affect us inside? And why do our attitudes inside affect our experience of the outside? See? It's not so simple. It's not so clear-cut. There really is no definite boundary between inside and outside. These are just convenient assumptions of language that we use to label our experience to make it easier to handle. Otherwise, we might get overwhelmed by so many details and so many little things happening inside and outside. Because the senses are part of the body, they are inert. They're just matter. They are just part of the projection of this on the screen. They're just part of the movie. Like the train. The train in the movie, it doesn't really go anywhere. It's not actually real. And with CGI, nowadays, you don't even need to take a picture of a real train. Just mock one up. Animate it. So tell me, how can the senses see external things? How can the consciousness see external things? I started thinking about this. What was it now? 8, 9, almost 10 years ago. And that one thought, that inquiry, has led me to this completely different place. Sometimes I feel like I'm a different person, or that I'm living on a different planet than I was back then. Because everything is so different. My views, my understandings, my experience is very different. Much better, much happier, and much more free from anxiety and fear and all these other negative things. Why? Because I changed my view. I changed it from the Dvaita-vāda to Viśiṣṭādvaita-vāda, then to Vivarta-vāda. So I see things in a completely different way, according to the Advaita view. So we accept that the so-called reality, whether internal or external, is simply an appearance. That's what Vivarta-vāda means. Vivarta means an appearance. We accept that it's simply an appearance. That explains all these phenomena and solves all these problems, these difficult questions, very easily. Because if it's just an appearance, then is there really an inside and an outside? No. Is there really an ego? No. Is there really an individual? No. There is this creation, which is constantly changing. According to the I Ching, anything can change into anything else, and there's no rules. And isn't that true? Doesn't it happen? So, in this way, if we accept that it's just a projection, it's just an appearance, it's an illusion, like a mirage. Yes, it's real. It's a real mirage. So don't take it too seriously. And you'll be much, much more happy and relaxed. Om Tat Sat. Om Harihi Om.